Hello Yuichi, this is a little video to hopefully help you out with your shot. It's looking really good. I went ahead and I ran the script to take it off the par, and this is what we have after doing that. Here, let's look at it. So this is where your shot is right now that we've taken the animation off the par. It's looking pretty good. I really like the body motion. I think we can plus it just a little bit more, and then we want to nail down those footfalls. As you can see, it looks like he's a little light on his feet landing. Right, he comes down here, comes through. We've got like some sliding feet that we just want to nail those down and get those working nicely. And we've got some hyperextended legs, just a few adjustments to make there. The feet coming through. So I adjusted the frame range too. I think the best thing to do for your shot is to work from frame 16 until the end at frame 59. That's pretty much what we need in your shot. I love the overlap on the ears, by the way. So that's all looking really good. I'm just going to show you how I would go about fixing it. So I'm going to send you this scene file, which will be YYMac Jump 03. Okay, so this is the file that you want to start from when it comes to animating it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as 4 and show you how I would address some of the notes that I have for you. I've got that saved. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Animschool Picker. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the movement of the spine. That's like the biggest, broadest control. So let's take a look at your curves for that. So let's just talk about just your Y translation. So I'm going to hit G, which is going to highlight only the area that we're working on. So we're talking about just the basic up and down movement of the whole character. So here, I think we could jump up. It's probably okay for a jump up right here. And he comes up. There we go. Comes up again a little bit. So usually, remember the bouncing ball. You want to on that second jump up. It's usually it's going to be less than your first jump up. Usually like about half. So if we come down here, let's really go down a little bit further. And then this is going to be another recoil up a little bit and then settle into it. So now we've just plussed the up and down motion of the basic body. So now I'm going to select his hip control, and we'll do the same thing there. So we're going to look at the Y translate, just the Y translate. I got sync to verify they're on good. So I don't see anything on here. Oh, is it because it's Z translate? Yes, it is. This character is it's pretty odd. So now we're just talking about the up and down movement of just the hips right here. So here he's squashing down And I know that this squashed down, it looks like I'm pulling it up in space. It's because the orientation is the opposite here. So here it comes up like that. Let's bring it down a little bit. Let's move that one frame over. Ooh. So when we get here, squish it down. Ooh. Comes up into the air. Squish down. Let's get a little bit more of a squish going down here. Bounces back up. Comes down. And then back up again. Whee. So let's see what happens when we play that back. So let's bring the chest down a little bit farther. So now I'm going to select the chest control. Same thing. Take a peek at it. It's going to be the Z translation channel. So here, it's rising up. So let's just make it a little bit higher. Down here, we'll squish down just a little bit lower. I think you pretty much get the idea, right? So here it's rising up. Let's move this one frame over. And I think here he can squish down even farther. Come down here. In this next frame, I'm going to hit S to add a key. Bring it down even lower. Rises up in the air. That's probably a little bit too extreme, but let's change that. Ooh, that was a weird tangency. This is I would use these right here. And so these are clamped. This is plateau. And And so let's change this to spline so it doesn't look like he's coming to a rest, like the motion's still continuing. So let's see what we have. See, it seems just a little bit bouncier and a little bit more, I've taken everything that you had before, just made him a little bit bouncier. So now let's get a little bit of follow through on the head when he comes down. So I'm going to select this control, and it's going to be the translate X. So see how you've got the head following, dragging behind here? That's really nice. Let's try to keep that going, even here. A little bit longer. And then when he gets here, bring it down. And he'll bring it back up. So I'm going to take all these, and see how right now we're coming to, it sort of like creates an ease in here. Instead I'm going to select all these keys and then go to spline so that we're going fast into it so it doesn't look like it just comes to a stop. See, now we have more of the body already feels like there's a little bit more of a, you know, a bounce. Yeah, it's more like a bouncing ball. Like he really comes to a nice hard landing there with the follow through with the head now. So, and your ear animation still makes really good sense. So now all we need to do is adjust the legs a little bit. So I'm going to save this scene again. And we're only going to talk about the legs now. So let's talk about this right arm right here. If that's where the foot is placed, we're just talking about the translations here. I'm just going to middle mouse and drag it to 18 and hit S. Right, so it shouldn't have moved. Right? So you'll see now that it's kind of hyperextended because the body's moved forward. So we're going to need to adjust some of the other controls on the leg to make this work. So part of what we're going to do is we're going to roll the, well, first we're going to take our clavicle right here, this clavicle control, and we're going to rotate it back so it's not hyperextended. And we're going to drag it down a little bit and pull it back. See, so this works a little bit better for the leg, but we also need this foot to be rolling up. So can we roll up the toe? No, that's right. We discovered that that control doesn't really work right. So we're going to roll it this way, and then we will, oh shoot, I think my Maya session is going to die. Yeah. So we'll come back to this in a second. So I'm going to have to open up Maya again. So it's trying to recover it, but I'm going to say no. Actually, I should have recovered it. Let's try that again. Quit. Project. Alright, fantastic. Hopefully this saved it all. Yes, it did. Yay! Alright, so we're talking about that foot. I'll go ahead and save this scene as 5. And get our picker back up and hit our mouse button. So one of the awesome things about The virus is I lost my shelf and all of my scripts. I'll have to plugins after reinstall this. So let's go back to adjusting the foot. No, not that one. Nope, not that one. So we'd want it to roll off of it. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if this will work. Oh, fantastic, it did. All right. So I'm going to select this control again, and I'm going to roll it off the toe, and then I'm going to have to adjust this so it's a little bit more natural. And then so now we don't have to have moved it quite so much. Right, so now the foot is planted, right? So now we'll talk about it coming forward to, you want to get it here to this pose, which totally makes sense. I'm actually going to bring it forward a little bit more under his body. Oh wait. And then let's adjust his clavicle. Oh, there was nothing on it. Okay. So I'm going to raise it up and bring it forward and rotate it this way. And then we'll take the elbow pointet and translate it out so it's not intersecting with the body there. It's much better. So this whole, so I'm going to select all of the arm here and hit S, right? So we've got like him making this teeny little mini step. So I'm going back to just selecting the IK control on the bottom. He's taking this little step here, right? It's not really a slide through. So let's go to this. If this is where he's going to be, middle mouse button. So here, when we're getting close to it, it's got to be raised up in the air, right? And about to land. So let's just go side here. And here, it's probably up. Took off from there. So it's a little step forward. Whee! Actually, the translation here, I think, right, so that foot makes a little step, it plants down. Then we're going to want to hold that a little bit longer, right? So let's take this pose and then get a middle mouse button and hold it here. Right, so even though, oh, sorry, I have to click off that. So I'm going to click off and then click back on the control, middle mouse button, drag here, S. So now he's starting to see what's happening. Now you're getting a little bit more lift off with the, so we'll bring the clavicle down and rotate it back. So now we get the sense that he's pushing off here, right? And then he'll bring the foot forward into this pose. So let's actually raise this up a little bit higher, reach it out, and we'll take the clavicle and raise it up and rotate the arm forward. I think we can reach it even farther. Let's see what happens if we do that. So let's ghost it here so we know where it was. It's coming from here. I'm going to get rid of this key. Right, so if it's there, and it's there, let me ghost it here, ghost it here. So we want to make a nice arc between here. So if I go here, probably want it raised up and back a little bit and rotate it under. Right? And then here, we're going to want it dragging behind. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate it under. And then we'll bring it about halfway. And we'll take that clavicle and we'll start rotating it forward because he's starting to reach forward. So now he's bringing, see how that's making a nice arc with the leg coming through? Whee! And then here, if this is where the leg lands, I think we should try to bring this forward a little bit more. I'm going to raise the clavicle up and rotate it forward. It's like a little bit stronger leg pose. So I'll ghost this here. And if that was where our leg was, I guess you had it right before. Let's bring it back a little bit more. So here I'm gonna I think we should be reaching it down, right? Like it's trying to go to where it wants to land. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit. And here, let's just copy where the landing pose is. So I'm going to just take the middle mouse button, slide it back, hit S. Because that way that he's got contact with the ground for a couple frames there, see? Whee! And then that's going to read more like a stronger push-off. So here, we're going to want to rotate that foot back. Probably stretch it out, and we'll bring the clavicle down and rotate it back so we really can get the leg stretched even farther. This is our stretch pose, and this makes sense for the leg starting to come forward and reach up and through here. So I think this is really nice. Let's reach it forward a little bit more, and then we'll adjust this clavicle down, forward, and rotate it through a little bit. And then we'll see the key for the whole leg pose here. So I'm going to bust those. I'm going to save this scene. Whew. Almost died again on us. Alright. So it's coming through. He lands. So we got to keep that foot down for a while before he brings it up again. I think this is a good pose here for that right front paw. But here, let's copy what we had over here. So I'm going to take the I've got the IK control, just the IK control selected. I'm going to come over to the timeline. I'm going to middle mouse button and just drag it to 44 and hit S. So now when I scrub through, that foot stays at 44. Let's hit S here, I think. And we'll ghost it, and I'm going to frame it over here so we can see where it is. I think at this frame, he should be rolling up on it. So remember, we have to kind of counter animate. So I'm going to roll the toe this way, and then I'm going to translate the foot up and forward. So it seems like he's starting to roll off of it. Hit S. And then we can have it coming forward into these. So again, with this, let's bust all that. So I think he's reaching here. This is a really nice pose. Right, so I'm going to ghost it. We can plus it a little bit by getting a little bit more of this clavicle in here. Get it a little bit farther forward. But this is where it lands, right? So let's ghost it here. Let's see if we can land it a little bit earlier. Let's see what happens if we try to land it at frame 51. Yeah, see now his weight is on it, so let's try to keep the weight on it too until we get to frame 56. I think at frame 56 it started to extend a little bit too far. So I'm going to bust everything. I'm going to ghost it right here. I think it's going to work probably. Here's good, but here we should really start rolling off. So I'm going to hit S here. I'm going to frame it so we get in close. And I'm going to hit rotation and rotate it forward so it's rolling off. And then I'm going to slide it forward. And we'll plus it a little bit with the clavicle. Rotating the clavicle this way and bringing it down just slightly so it's a little bit more natural. And we'll hit all of the button for selecting the whole thing. I'll hit S to try and preserve this. I'll bust all that. This key I'm gonna delete. Here, I think this is a good frame, but in between it, let's have it. Oops. Let's bring this control up and forward. So he's making a step. Okay, see, so, and right here, I think this pose is good. I like the stretch of it, but let's try and get the clavicle to help out with this. I'm going to rotate the clavicle forward and then slide it down just till we get that elbow to pop out again. So that's, you need to do that for all the legs now. But I'll show you what it looks like. Save it. Do a play blast. See, now the foot falls make more sense. So basically you want to try to land them a little bit earlier. Make sure you spend a little bit more time on to really get a nice push off with your feet. So you want to do something similar with the left front paw. And then with these, let's just do the back paws through here. So here, right here, I would think we come down. These back paws are hyperextended, so we're going to bring them up and kind of rotate them under. But when they land, I think you can land a little bit farther forward. And make sure you have a few, like at least 2 or 3 frames where the feet are completely flat on the ground before you roll forward like that and push off, okay? And it will seem a lot more weighty and realistic with the feet falls. So let's just do this particular foot right here through that area. So first I'm going to do is go to frame that foot here. I'm going to slide it forward a little bit more. And I'm going to go sit. So it should, so I have the control selected. I'm going to middle mouse button and then just drag it, holding the middle mouse button down and hit S. So here you can see what we need is a roll off with this foot beginning. So with this control we have the heel raise. So we can just raise the heel like that, using that channel to get a nice roll. But then we're also going to need to select this ankle because we're a little bit still hyperextended here. So it's a little bit too far. So I'm also going to select the hip orient control. Probably what we need is to select this hip. Whoa, come on hip. I'm trying to select the hip. There we go. And we need to get some rotation in this way and see how that leg starts becoming a little bit more realistic, right? And I will rotate it this way too. So now we've got our knee back. Another thing we can do is we can select this control and translate it down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to bust this. This foot comes forward and lands here, which I think this is good for where it should be. So I'm going to ghost it right here. I think we can get there a frame earlier. So here I'm going to, again, middle mouse button. I'm holding the middle mouse button down. I go back to 20. I'm going to hit S because I want it to get there earlier. So we push off on it longer. So I'm going to also hit here. But here I want to take this. I'm going to drag it forward. Hit S. There we go. So this key this one. And here I feel like slide forward. Sorry. Slide forward just a little bit more so it's under his body. So I'm going to bust this. I'm going to ghost it here. I think everything about this should be starting to come through. So we want to try and hold this down again for a couple of frames. So middle mouse button. That's S here. And here we're going to roll up. So we're going to take that heel raise, roll the foot up. That makes much more sense. And then the foot's going to be coming through. So I think this looks good. Not sure why it hyperextends in here. So I'm going to just take these translation channels and I'm going to raise it up to the point where it's not falling apart, not breaking the rig like that. And then here, the foot should probably be higher. And let's rotate it up a little bit like this. So that's good. Let's copy this. To here. And same thing. So I think it gets a little bit too hyperextended here. So we just want to make these shapes a little bit nicer. Take that heel up. So I know we went through the hip, but let's back off on how high it is right there. There we go. So same thing, we want these legs to come through and land a little bit sooner. Like this is a great place for them to land. So I'm going to ghost it here. And I think that this is pretty good pose. Let's get it a little bit higher. And then we've got that ankle control. I'm going to rotate it forward because remember we want to have this bone parallel to this bone, so that just looks a little bit healthier. But here, we want to get the whole leg a lot closer to the next pose. Let's get all of this closer to the next pose. Yeah. So I'm just going to select this. Actually, I think we can get it to the next pose. Let's just select the whole thing. And by clicking this double tick, it copies the next pose. So yes, that's there. So let's bust that. We'll take a save it. And we'll take a peek at what we got. So now the legs, the right leg and the right arm make a lot more sense because we get to the pose we're going to faster, right? And you get more of a push off on the ground, so it gives more force to the whole arc of it. There's a little mistake right there where that leg gets a little crazy. What frame is that? Frame 20. So let's take a peek at what's going on with this leg at frame 20. Now we can make this look better. Ooh. So yeah, it gets pretty twisted around there. I think we can fix it a little bit by adding some of that in. Some of that. It appears to just be something else. Let's see. The ankle control. That helps us some. It's a big pop forward. Okay, so let's take this right leg here. That's cool. And this is cool. Oops, I did that again. And this one, I think we'll do that, but we'll add more of this heel raise in there. That looks a little bit better. Okay. So don't look at your, you don't need to look at your reference now. What I want you to do is make the existing animation that you have look as good as possible. So flip it around on the other side and try to get the left leg and right arm landing a little bit sooner and just a little bit more time on those footfalls to try and make them make logical sense. I think the body and the overlap is working fine otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and save this for you. I'll send you both files if you want to try to recreate what I did. After watching this video, that's fine. Otherwise, just try to take what we have on the other side, and I hope that this file is virus-free. Anyway, that's all I have for you, Yuichi. It's really good animation. I think it's super cute, and I can't wait to see what you have on Friday. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.